3,
5,
2,
6, 4.
and we are live. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another exciting film journey here on Delusions of Grandeur. I am your host as we are continuing the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Um, well, I would actually call it like almost like I would call it a trilogy because this is the essential trilogy to J.R.R. Tolkien's masterpiece that he created.
Well,
Um,
what else can it be if not a trilogy?
and
A single book.
it was the sequel to The Fellowship of the Ring. And this one was filmed in 2002 by Peter Jackson. And it also stars Elijah Wood, Ian McKellen, Viggo Mortensen, Orlando Bloom, Bruce Alpress, Sean Astin, John Beck, Selah Baker, Kate Blanchett, Billy Boyd, Jed Brophy, Sam Comery, Brad Dourif, Callum Gittins, Bernard Hill, Bruce Hopkins, Christopher Lee, amongst many others.
And Liv Tyler. You've got Liv Tyler last time, too.
Liv Tyler wasn't really that much in this one, except in flashbacks.
I don't care. She was still in it. And she's
Uh,
fucking Liv Tyler, so she deserves credit.
the truth is, we saw very little of her in the first movie too.
The truth is, the much as you see of her is great. And in my dreams, I saw her a lot more. So.
Actually, yes, I do. I do wish we got to see more
We
of
won't
her.
go into my wet dreams, though.
Okay, you can keep that to yourself.
Well, but let us see what IMDb says about the film, and then we'll go into our first impressions here. While Frodo and Sam edge closer to Mordor with the help of the shifty Gollum, the divided fellowship makes a stand against Sauron's new ally, Saruman, and his hordes of Isengard. So, what was your first impression, Boris? Was this a first-time watch for you?
Just like with the previous one, yes and no. I have come across this movie several times on TV, but since it's a long, since these movies are so long until we started to do them here, until now I had never taken the time to just sit through them from the beginning to the end. So in a way, we could say this is the first time I watched it because it is the first time I watched it from the beginning to the end.
And were you as
And
tortured as Gollum was?
sorry, what did you say?
And I said, were you as tortured as Gollum was?
Okay, not quite that much, but I will say it was a little bit difficult to follow the storyline because uh, so many things happen at once, and like you see Frodo for a while, and then there are really long scenes with other characters without seeing him, and then I was suddenly wondering, wait, what's up with Frodo? I ended up forgetting what happened to him while other characters were on the scene, and the same thing happened multiple times to me with other characters. Like later on, when Gandalf joined the fight, I couldn't remember where he had been all the time since his previous appearance. and sometimes I struggle to figure out who was fighting whom. Uh, so yeah, I had issues like these. But in spite of that, of course, I can't deny this movie really deserves the respect it received by the vast majority of the audience. But yeah, uh, like I said, I did have these issues with it, but okay, my opinion shouldn't be taken too seriously.
This
Okay,
is
is that
why
it for
people
first
watch
impressions?
these.
Uh,
This is why these people watch these movies multiple times. I know you think they're long, but
uh,
I couldn't tell you how many times I've seen these movies. At least 10 times each.
Jeez. Well, fair enough. I do see you enjoy them a lot, and that's really good. In my case, personally, yeah, there are some interesting aspects of the movie, but I have to be honest and say those parts that I did find more compelling, they got very short screen time, just like in the first movie, the relationship between Aragorn and Arwen, which is still probably my personal most interesting subplot of this story. Um, and what else was I going
You'll
to
never get a
say?
lot of it, but you'll get a little more of it.
Uh, uh, okay. Uh, by the way, I can still hear some echo of myself when I talk. It's really distracting.
Others
I don't know
distracted
how to.
too are going too.
I would say sign out and sign back in, and then we'll go over to Ron for his first impression of this viewing. I know this wasn't a first time watch for you, was it, Ron?
I know, like I just said, I've watched them all about 10 times. So, this is my second time watching the extended version. So, there's that. Uh, and I did notice some differences more than I did the first time I saw the extended. So, pretty cool. I really enjoyed the extended scenes. Of course, and of course, as well as the original theatrical scenes. I love this movie. Um, you think it's gonna go kind of like Empire Strikes Back, where it's gonna end with the enemies winning, but it doesn't. They win day. Um, of course, that's just the beginning, because like they said in that the fight for Helm's Deep is over. Now the fight for Middle Earth begins. So even though they won the day on this front, uh, there's there are no then now they're about to start the real battle, the real war. So yeah, um, something huge to look forward to, and it was very good. I mean, like I said, most of the movie was bad guys were kicking some ass, and it didn't look good for our heroes, and you know, it got turned around. So I love it. It's a great movie. It's a great sequel to Fellowship, continuing the story, and a great prequel to um, Return of the King. It's just obviously not meant to be standalone. Although if you did watch it without seeing the other movies, I think you could enjoy stuff that's going on. There's still a lot. I mean, there'll be a little bit like you don't understand why they're following these orcs and stuff, or some other things you wouldn't understand if you hadn't seen Fellowship. But I still think there's a lot of visual stuff and a lot of things going on that you can still enjoy the movie even if you hadn't saw the first one. But better if you had saw it, if you do watch the first one. In my
Well, the visuals are definitely great. That's not even a question. But like I said about the first movie, one issue I have with this story, but yeah, as we have said before, apparently multiple people have said the same about Tolkien's writing, is that we how do I say it? The characters don't seem to be very deeply fleshed out. Most of them seemingly just do what seems to be their duty. They don't seem to have much free will.
I
There
love his
are
fight. I love his writing. So, you know, if you don't like his
mm,
writing, well, you don't like his writing. Well, I love his writing. So,
that's fine, of course. I'm really no one to complain about it, but yeah, it's just my personal preference when stories are more character driven, when characters are fighting for something that has some more personal relevance to them than just doing
and
what's their
just everything they
duty.
know and love, and everybody they know and love,
I'm sorry, what did you say?
then everybody they know and love, and everything they know and love.
Uh,
If they didn't go on to this fight, if they didn't help do this fight, it affects the entire world, everybody and everything in it. Everybody you love, everybody you know, everything is affected, it, and could be destroyed because you didn't help. I think that's pretty.
um,
I think that's pretty fucking personal.
Mhm.
okay, yeah, when you put it that way, it is.
Well, that's the way it was meant.
Maybe uh, uh, I'm not sure. Maybe I didn't express. Maybe I didn't make the point I was trying to make.
There are a
Uh,
lot of people in this world that just want to sit by and let nothing be done and think that the world will just continue
Like like
to
uh
flow.
like
You
his
know,
old gaffer. You
like
know,
what?
his old gaffer said, keep your nose out of business, and nothing will come to you. You know,
Uh,
that is completely false. But some people have that mentality. You keep your head in the ground. Keep your head on the ground, and you know they'll they'll uh, they'll walk right over you. But you know it's not
uh,
true.
did you say? I'm sorry, I didn't understand that title you gave, Zogata, something like that.
basically like a grandfather or something like
Oh,
that.
Gaffer, his father,
What?
his father.
Uh,
His
whose
father.
father? Whose father?
He says his Gaffer a few times through the movie.
Uh,
Sam,
wait, whose father are we talking about?
Sam.
Sam, Samwise Gamgee.
Uh, Sam's father.
Yes, we
Uh,
Yeah.
always talk about his old Gaffer.
Yep.
I don't remember that name. I'm sorry.
Well, it's there.
Mm,
But in any case, Ron, was your first impression pretty much said then?
Yes.
Okay. Then let's go over to Tammy. Was this the first time watch for you, at least of the extended version?
I don't think so. I thought we watched the extended before, but
Yes, we have.
I think it's it's a good second part to the trilogy, and I I like all the different characters. I mean, I like I like some of the new ones that were brought in, like the trees.
A
And
tree? I am no tree. I am an ant. Sorry, this happened.
I like them.
okay,
Uh,
yeah, they were kind of fun, although kind of slow too.
well, yeah, they're trees. It's bad enough seeing a fucking big ass tree walking. You want him to run fast too? God damn.
Uh, I didn't mean physically. I mean, like it took them hours to even realize that Mary and Pippin weren't orcs, and
No,
then
it took them all day just to say good morning,
uh, yeah, pretty much.
but it's nighttime.
I know
Jeez.
the first time I watched it, though, when I thought that Aragon was dead, I was not happy.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, but I had seen parts of the third movie before, so I knew he would be back.
Well, he was back in this one,
Yeah. Mm, yeah,
but
but I knew he had to be there later, so I knew this couldn't be the
good thing
end
the
of
creators
him.
of Game of Thrones didn't make this movie. We would have lost Gandalf. We would have lost Aragorn. Probably would have lost Frodo and Sam.
Probably,
but
yeah.
yeah, I enjoyed it. It was, you know, nice, you know, because I like this with the, you know, fantasy type of setting, in
Oh,
a way.
oh yeah, that's undeniable. The amount of effort they put
Mm.
into developing that whole world and bringing it on screen. That is admirable. I cannot deny that.
Well, it's you got so many different elements, so many well, not elements, but characters. It's just you got dwarves, you got elves, you got
Mm,
You've got
uh,
men,
men, you got the trees, you got the um
the
wizard
What?
wizards.
creatures that the orcs are, the creatures that the scout
The
orcs are
Arachons?
riding on. I mean, those were new.
Oh, the wargs.
Yeah,
The wargs. Yeah.
yeah.
What's the
So
name
I
of
think
that creature that the ring racer riding on?
Oh God,
Yeah, I mean,
I forget.
it's not a dragon, but it's similar. But I'm not sure the name.
and let's not forget Gollum.
Or the
It-
Belrock. I mean, it starts with
oh,
the Belrock, but um,
Yeah, with Gandalf kicking his ass.
yeah. So my experience with the Two Towers, I believe I actually saw it in the theater, but
I did.
I waited a long time to actually watch the Two Towers extended edition up until like maybe about 6 or 7 years ago, and I think I watched it with Tammy, and um, I like the added stuff that they put in. I mean, it makes it a longer film, but in all essence, it is a phenomenal world that Peter Jackson was able to bring to film. I like the different characters. Um, I thought that them playing around with a second love interest for Aragon was kind of unique. Um, I mean, and you get a sense of like the evil that has transpired because the kidnapping of the the two hobbits like kind of like brings them into the world of men, and how the world of men think and whatnot at this point in time. They think that this fight isn't for them, and um a lot of what's been said through the fellowship and the two towers is the fact that it is because of men is why they're in this dire predicament anyways, because they couldn't get rid of the ring of power or whatnot. And I like that aspect that the fact we're all fucked is because of us, you know. So um I like that element, and you get to you get to see
Actually,
the
it wasn't even a human. It was a Dinu doll, or a Dinu doing that didn't do it. It was Isildur who was in the center of them, which
like I
they
said, he
have.
was a human.
They're like
He was male.
they're like special humans that had long lives, so they should definitely know better. They weren't even regular humans; they were special humans.
So Isildur wasn't really human.
They were special humans that were given long life. That's what Aragon is. That's why Aragon is 87 years old in Two Towers, and he says it to Arwen.
So,
Not
Yeah, I
I-
thought
I
that
mean,
too because
what's her face?
so Isildur was one of those like Aragorn.
Isidore he's the heir to Isidore.
Yeah, which
Oh yeah.
He's probably like grandson or I think something like grandson or something.
grandson or great grandson or something like that. I
Yeah,
just
because
wasn't sure.
Arathor is his father because he said he's Aragorn, son of Arathor. So I'm
But
just assuming
the fact that
Isildur.
he is a Dunadai was not exactly well expressed in the movie. It was more expressed in the book that
True, but
um,
it is mentioned when he's trying to eat that horrible soup that she makes for him, and he says that her uncle told her a strange tale
well,
that
I
I
know,
Aragorn
but if you had not
fought with
read the
um
her
book,
father,
I
and
must
he said that was she goes that you have to be like 60 years old, and he just looks at her and she goes, oh, you can't say you're 80, and then he says he's 87. She goes, oh, you must be a Dunedain, and then goes on about what they are a little bit, and yeah, so it
I
is
must
mentioned, but yeah, it does go into more depth in books, obviously.
I must say
yeah, if you
though that
if you had read the book, maybe you had have a more understanding about what the Dunadai are. But mentioning the Dunadai,
Also,
most
watch Ring of
regular
Powers.
people
If you
who
watch Ring
just
of
watch the
Powers, you'll
movie
know a
will
lot
not
more.
understand
If you
that.
watch Ring of Powers, you'll understand a lot more. Because you actually go to their land where they're in abundance.
Well, that came later, but
Just
I
saying.
enjoy this, and so let's go into the
Well,
um.
hold on. Boris was trying to say something.
Oh, go
ah
ahead.
when you mentioned the soup, I was going to say that soup actually looked rather tasty to me. It kind of looked like what was inside kind of looked like some seafood, and I love seafood, so I I kind of thought it was dumb that Aragorn didn't like it.
Well, it might not be. It might be. He might have liked what it was. Just the way she cooked it was horrible. Because you can cook stuff that you like, but if someone cooks it horribly, it's not going to be good. So, you could tell
Uh,
me he was gonna he was gonna spill it out, and then she turns around and so he ends up eating it, and the whole time you can tell that he's like, this is horrible, but he's smiling and putting on, oh yeah, it's good for her because you don't want to hurt her feelings, he's a good guy.
yeah.
So let's get
kind
into
of
the plot
kind of reminds me of Rama, Dave, with
a little bit.
her Nabuki always trying to, not Nabuki, I mean what's the name, always trying to make him food, and except he's not nice about it. He tells her how he hates her food. He usually gets smacked for it, but
Yeah, but let's get into the plot here. So the in the very beginning of the Two Towers, we begin exactly where Gandalf says, "You shall not pass." and that pretty much sets like the tone of the movie as we see exactly what happens. Afterwards, he gets that lash around from the bell rock around his leg, drags him down, and then I guess what happens is they battle like in like a version of what you would consider like hell in Earth a sense. He battles this demon on like the highest peak of a mountaintop in this,
Well, they're falling.
underworld realm.
They're falling. They're falling and falling, and while they're falling, they're still fighting. And he's like holding on to the Balrog, because the Balrog has wings, so the Balrog is still kind of flying, even though it's falling. So,
Yep.
um,
And
you
he
know,
throws him from this highest peak and destroys him. But I guess, in a sense, Gandalf does in fact die.
no, they land in the water.
Well, he's
Uh,
still lying on top of that mountaintop. You see, he is lying on that mountaintop. He doesn't fall into any water.
I haven't seen
actually,
it.
I must say I found that part a little bit confusing.
Yeah, I
How
ain't seen
did
him really
he,
on top. I saw him fall in the water
uh, if he died there, how exactly did he come back to life?
because
There
he's
was
not human.
Because
something.
whatever powers that be returned him so that he could finish a
And he,
task.
and the Celestials that made him, promoted him from Gandalf the Grey to become Gandalf the White. In that world, the role you
And
wore is depending on your strength. So before he was strong, he was Gandalf the Grey. Well, Gandalf the White is supposed to be the highest of the power. That's why
Yeah, and
Saruman was Saruman the White. But he betrayed the wizards. He betrayed the order. He
in a
turned he
sense,
turned evil. So,
and in a
um,
sense, I think that it's like they just
Gan-
transferred the white powers into him.
but they didn't because Saruman still had his powers. So they just promoted him and made him Gandalf the White as well. Um,
who actually are those Celestials?
you don't see them, but they're the ones that created Gandalf.
In fact, one of the characters
Oh,
that they decided to omit from Fellowship that might have been one of those celestial beings was Tom, uh,
One
you know,
battle,
Bondaville or whatever
one
the fuck his
battle.
name, Bombadil. Yeah. So that was a celestial being, but he never left his forest or anything like that, and we don't learn about him because he was in the book, and they decided to skip him. So and or anything to me, it's like they treated the story like Troy. They told the story without the idea or the showing of that there were gods that were involved in the story. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Troy, but uh, one of the reasons why I hated the movie
I have.
was because um, the whole reason why Troy even exists was because gods were all part of it. They decided to show it as a godless world. Well, they're kind of showing this. You don't really see the celestial beings in this world. Uh, you know, um,
They
you
like
just
to do that a lot with movies. It seems like I don't know. It's people are picky when it comes to that stuff with deities and gods and stuff. So they just tend to stay away from them sometimes,
it's
if
almost
they
like it's a
can.
taboo subject. It's like
Yeah, if they can, they stay away. But um,
well,
yeah,
okay, Lord of the Rings, I guess they didn't have to omit gods, but when it comes to
I don't think they should
Troy,
have, but they did.
uh, Troy was something that existed in this history, and Greek gods, as far as we know, didn't exist.
Says who?
Uh,
says who?
well, they supposedly lived on some mountain and they were never found, I guess.
Why would they be found? They can't fly.
uh, okay, I guess.
You can't fly to Mount Olympus. How are you gonna get there?
Well, okay, by that logic, who says Santa Claus doesn't exist?
I never said he doesn't exist.
The only reason why they don't exist is because you don't believe in them. So, that being said, so some people do, and there is evidence that shows that it's possible that there were um, gods or at least some kind of a deity to help make sure that these exist. But that is a totally different story for a totally different conversation. So let's get back to here. Apparently, there were gods and goddesses in the book. In the movies, they didn't really show them, but you're just supposed to know that they exist. Okay. So, that being said, as we learn later in the Two Towers, Gandalf the Grey is brought back as Gandalf the White to help them in their coming battles.
And
But we don't learn that.
if you notice when he comes back too, they call him Gandalf. He's like Gandalf, and they're like, oh yeah, you did call me that. So he's like, he has a little bit of a memory loss when he first comes back. Probably the transition
We
of
need to
dying and
talk
coming
about
back. But
everything that leads up to that before we talk about that.
Mm.
So,
hey, you mentioned it.
it doesn't mean we have to continue talking about it until we get there.
Doesn't mean you don't have to.
But
I do what I want.
after we
Squabbling,
learn a
squabs.
little bit about Gandalf and his battle, that's when we go to Aragorn and Legolas and
Nope,
the
nope,
dwarves.
nope, nope, nope. You're wrong. They go to Frodo and Sam first, and they're climbing down. They're climbing down the mountain. They're using the Elven rope, which is an added scene. And the Sam drops a box, and Frodo goes to catch it, and then he starts falling, and Sam's like, Frodo!
I guess I
Frodo
found the
falls,
bottom.
but he falls at the bottom, so he didn't really fall very far. It just looked like he was gonna fall far, and it turned out the little box is just a box of spice because Sam thinks that they might find some chicken that they can go ahead and cook up, and Frodo thinks it's hilarious that he wants to he's gonna think about cooking fried chicken, and he says you always are hopeful and stuff like that, and he just got a good laugh about that. And it was a nice little scene, and then they pulled the rope right down easily, so no one follows them. Uh, and then of course later we see that they use the rope as a leash once they find when Golem attacks them, and they get the best of them, they put them on the leash. Go ahead.
You're right. It does start with that scene, but then it goes to Aragorn and the
Gimli
Gimli and
and Legolas
Legolas, and they're continuing their journey to
following the orcs.
correct. And I guess the orcs are marching. They're marching on their way to Isengard, but they on their way end up having a little bit of a scuffle because they're hungry, and so they stop and they have this. I love this
They
moment
look good
for a
enough to
reason.
eat. What about their legs? They don't need those.
So they have a little bit of a scuffle, and one of the orcs gets killed, and he's like, "I guess meat is on the menu, boys." You know, um, uh, but you get this whole scuffle, and it makes you feel like um, things have gone bad for Merry and Pippin, but
Actually, no, it's a lot better once that happens because that's when they kind of get ignored a little bit, and then they stop moving away. And then that one goblin catches up to them, and he's like, "You're not gonna get away now. No one will save you." And then all of a sudden, of course, he gets killed right after he says that by the raiding party. And then that's when they're like, "Okay, let's get out of here." And uh, then another goblin goes after them, which then we don't see what happens till a little bit later in a flashback.
Yeah, because
Because then we then
they
we, we,
make it
we
seem
find
like
we
they're
find
caught
out
in
that
that battle.
Aragon says, hail to the riders of Rohan. Well, actually, we skipped the
Well,
scene.
yeah, we skipped the part
Yeah,
where the riders of
because
Rohan
the riders of Rohan go
are
back to. They find the son, his cousin, the son of the
yes.
king. He's still alive. They bring him. They bring him there, and he basically gets banished. Fairmore gets
Oh,
banished, and
uh,
I'm thinking they never showed this part because the whole son part was added extra anyways.
oh
But
yeah, that
I think that Wormtail probably killed him because or made sure he didn't make it because he's still alive and he probably had a good chance of still living, and all of a sudden he just died. And I don't remember from the book or not, but I'm pretty sure Wormtail probably killed him because he wanted, they had control of the king, so they didn't want anyone else around.
uh, that
And they
reminds me
do show
in
that Wormtail has a somewhat obsession with
Oh yeah, with
us.
the sister, because
Yeah,
that's what he was. Because like, oh, what did he
too
promise? The
long you
witches.
have laid eyes on my sister.
Yeah,
It shall be no
uh,
more.
yeah.
wait, isn't Wormtail a Harry Potter character?
No,
Uh, what?
what
Wormtail. Who was called Wormtail here?
That would
Wormtail?
be Durup's character. Is his name was
Mm,
Wormtongue.
Was
ah,
it?
Yeah,
okay.
Wormtail is a Harry Potter character.
Uh,
Whatever. I was close.
okay, but there was another thing I also wanted to ask. I didn't understand in this movie how that king's son died. What happened to him?
He
He
was in
was
the,
in
he was in a huge battle,
yeah,
and there was
with
no
orcs.
survivors except for him. His cousin brought him home because he was still alive. And then, like I said, they never showed. They just said, "Oh, he died." But I'm thinking it was Wormtail that did it, or had something to do with it because he was alive when his cousin brought him. So maybe he died of that of those of wounds from the battle, or maybe he was
Mm,
snuffed out. He,
wa- was that battle mentioned only in the book, or was it mentioned
No,
here
it's in
too?
the
And I just
movie. The riders come upon a huge battle. This is actually an added scene. It wasn't even in the original theater version, but they came across a whole scene where horses and people
Yeah, wasn't that Haleth?
were dead, and they were looking at all the bodies, and then they saw one that was alive. Like it's amazing, he's alive. That turned out to be his cousin, the son of the king. So he
ah
was still alive.
ah. There were so many such scenes that they mostly got just mixed up in my head. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's understandable, dude. I mean, like I said, I've seen these a bunch of times, and I saw this extended twice, and I don't even remember that scene when I watched it the first time. So I totally get it. But that's why I keep watching these movies because sometimes I discover something new. And I'm like, hey, I didn't know that before. So as many times I've seen it, it still happens. Because they're so epic. That's why they're epic fantasy movies. There's a reason they call it epic. There's so grand and so much going on that you can't possibly watch it. Notice everything. You're gonna miss stuff. No
And the
matter how.
orc party keeps on going because they actually smell their scent,
Yeah.
but Aragorn and his party end up getting
Well,
to
they've been
the
going for three
battle
days
real.
with no
Yeah,
food, no rest, and obviously no shower. So, oh.
they
Poor
arrive at the
Gimli.
battle and battle scene. They see the smoke and whatnot, and they are surrounded by the riders of Rohan.
Well,
And
Aragon called to them first. Says
yeah,
what news of the river march, like you said, something like that, and they all surrounded him. I was like, all he did was ask a question. Jesus. They were kind of a little bit aggressive there, but I can understand he was probably a little bit upset, with his uncle being um, a puppet and Worm Tongue kicking him out and after his sister and stuff. So he's had a bad day.
yep.
But I love how he pops off and Gimli's like said, I'll tell you my name, Master Horse Master. If you tell me yours, and he hops down and is like, I would chop your head off. If it wasn't a bit taller. And then Legolas just fucking pulls out an arrow. He's like, don't even try it. And everyone's like putting their face up. Aragorn's like, put it down. Don't worry. Calm down. Like, it's not that serious. It's a great little thing there. And then they end up saying they're following the orcs and they're looking for their friends. And they say they're hobbits. They size the children to you. And he's like, we left none alive, but um, he calls them.
Thankfully,
They give them two horses,
Aragorn.
and they tell them, hopefully they'll do better service than the original owners or
Well,
previous
and
owners.
thankfully, Aragorn is a very good tracker.
Yes, yes, and they go. They said, don't let hope. Uh, you know, basically, don't have too much hope that they'll be alive, but uh, they go there, and he kicks the skull, and they're looking, and they think they might be dead, and he's looking on the ground, and he's all pissed off, and he's like, "Wait a minute!" He's like looking, he's like, "A hobbit
Two
laid
hobbits
here,
laid here.
a hobbit laid here, and the other one laid here," and he starts following, and he says, "They roll this way." And they roll that way. And as he's talking, they start showing the scenes of what actually happened, and
Hmm.
then you see that they cut the rope off from the axe, and he sees it, and their bounds were cut, and he shows the big rope, and then they pull this way, and then they show the goblin like jumped from there, but they ended up that one got
Running
speared,
into the woods.
and then they ended up going into the woods and like Fangor forest, and they all were like, ah, like scared. Why they have to go there? But they didn't have a choice, and of course, so they
Legolas
went in
says
there,
the White
and this is
Wizard
when we,
approaches.
and then we finally we see them. They climb a tree because the goblins chasing them, and um, Mary falls, and Pippin is standing there, and all of a sudden there's a face of a tree looking at him, and he screams and falls, goes to fall, but he's caught by the tree ant. Then the tree ant squishes the orc because he knows that's an orc, but then he grabs um, Pippin so that he has both of them in the hand. He's looking at them and he's like, saying they're orcs, and they're
You
like,
look
we're
like
not orcs.
orcs.
We're not orcs, we're halflings, we're Shire folk. Sounds like orcs mischief to me, but he's still not sure if they really are orcs or not, but so he doesn't kill
And
them right away.
this creature is
And then
voiced by John Rhys Davies, who
is
plays Gimli.
Gimli. And so then he says, the White Wizard will know. And they're both like, oh no, Saruman. And then they get tossed down in front of the White Wizard. Only it's not Saruman. It's
Although
Gandalf.
we don't know that because all they show is the back of the hair, and that
Oh yeah,
Right,
they don't show that.
right. But
yeah, that was actually a good twist. When I saw him from the back, I thought he would be Saruman. I didn't think it would be Gandalf.
Which is what they wanted.
Yeah.
But then it kind of goes back to Aragon, and that's when Legolas um, oh, there is a couple of moments that the dwarf is a little funny, has some funny dialogue while they're in there. I forget exactly what he says, but I remember laughing or chuckling a moment at his dialogue. But the White Wizard approaches is what Legolas says, and that's when they draw their weapons. And uh, I guess they at first think it's Saruman, and then Gandalf shows his face, and
This is where you see that Gandalf could kick the shit out of all three of them at once. Because they actually
and
they go to
they
fight him,
immediately
and
apologize.
they go to fight him, and he just bats away their weapons like they're nothing.
Well, Aragon is like, it cannot be.
Yeah. And then finally he says Gandalf, and he's like
Oh
Gandalf,
yes,
Gandalf. Oh yes, that is
that's
what
what
they
they
called me.
called me,
Well, I
Gandalf
am
the
not
Grey,
Gandalf the Great. I am now I am Gandalf the White.
and I have come at the turn of the tide.
I
And
love
then
how he whistles and doesn't just get a horse; he gets the load of horses.
yes, what was the name of that horse? Wasn't it?
I can't think of her name or his name.
Trying to think, but the name of that horse was something to hear too. But he basically goes into like how, what happened and why he's back, you know, and then he leads them into the country of Rohan because they've got to um,
Well,
first.
Aragorn tells him, says that the king is under Saruman's control.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah. That part kind of left me wondering. Before they exorcised Saruman out of the king looked so sick, like he was
yep.
dying. How did no one in the kingdom notice
Well, they
anything
thought he was
wrong?
sick and dying.
Yeah, they thought he was
They,
sick and
they, they
dying,
thought he was sick and dying. They
and that
didn't
worm
realize that
tongued
he was dead.
dude had the king's ear, and whatever he said goes, and he had his own um,
Agenda.
guards as well that like were like muscled people, but thankfully there were still some people under the king's guard that kind of just held back when Aragon and Legolas came along with Gandalf, and uh, I do have to say when they came to the door and they were told that they couldn't bring their weapons or whatnot,
Oh,
it's like,
you wouldn't begrudge an old man his walking stick, would you?
so they let him in,
I
and
told you
then
to take his staff.
he threw off his cloak, and that's when he's shown all white.
Well,
And
not yet. First, he starts mumbling and trying to get someone, and someone starts laughing. Like, you will not, get me, Gandalf the Grey. And that's when he throws off the robe, and you see the bright white robe and the little bright light. And he's like, ah! And he starts forcing someone out of them. He's like, you will not kill me, and you will not kill him. And he
and
finally forces him out. I love how when the king comes to, and then he hands him the sword, and then he's like kind of himself again, and his first thought looks over at Worm Tongue like, you little bastard, that look in his eyes, like if looks could kill,
well, that's
he would have
after
been dead.
he goes to
I
his
already said
daughter,
all
and
that though.
he's like, I know your face.
I already said all that, and he goes in and he the kicks him down the stairs, and you know and they banish him. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and that's a good part because he
And
leaves
then the next
he
scene
leaves
is when he's like, a father should never have to bury his child. So
that
so
part's sad.
true. So very very sad. And that's when we show like a little funeral for the son,
Mm,
Well, and the daughter sings a very cool song there. I like it.
the niece.
Yeah, I thought
yeah.
she was a daughter.
No, she's
Okay,
his
No,
niece.
yeah.
Her parents were killed, and he raised her
okay,
and her brother, but he's the uncle.
but I guess this is where Aragon and her have a conversation where he tells her she's a shield maiden of Rohan, and he does not think that certain things will befell her fate. Because a little bit before that they had a meeting that there's war upon you whether you want to or not, and he makes a decision that they're going to go to Helm's Deep, which is
Yeah, running
evidently.
high instead of staying fighting, but because the king is just trying to protect everybody
Yep.
as much as he can, because he knows that
And
at the moment they don't have enough people to fight and protect everybody there. So he thinks,
yep, so he gathers all of his people, and they end up going along the path to Helm's Deep. Meanwhile, Wormtongue has found his way. Oh, we lost Ron for a moment.
Oh,
Meanwhile, Wormtongue has found his way to Saruman, and he's got Saruman's ear now, and he's basically telling him, well, um, on they're going on their way to Helm's Deep. They'll have women and children with this. This will be a weak point. So why don't you fucking send some people there? You know.
uh, yeah.
So he
and
he does.
this is where I start singing, "Run to Helm's Deep, women and children, the cowards attack. Run to Helm's Deep." And if anybody knows, it's actually Iron Maiden Run to the Hills, but I changed the words and I think it fits.
But yeah, so he sends I guess he sends some orcs that way, and um, that this is the one where we actually see those creatures that they ride in on their they
The
call them
wargs.
scouts,
The wargs.
and there is a little bit of a battle, and Aragon looks like he falls to his death. At
He fell
least
off the
to
cliff.
some. He fell off the cliff, and his necklace was left behind in the orc's hand. And there was a moment where he let a horse go. He'd actually talked to a horse in Elvish and had them let this horse go and let him have his freedom because he had evidently seen too much, and it's this horse that comes back and saves him.
Yep. Not only does he keeps he pushes his head, he pushes his leg with its hoof, and then he lays down. So Aragon is after he wakes up, Aragon is able to get onto him because obviously Aragon is super weak. So the horse actually lays down so he can get on him, and then he pulls him up, and then carries him to safety, which is pretty fucking awesome.
And back with Legolas and
Shadowfax.
Yeah,
Shadowfax is
Shadowfax.
name again elsewhere.
Yeah.
Just popped in my head.
But Legolas
Legolas.
and Gimli all arrive at Helm's Deep without Aragon, and they believe the worst has happened to him.
Yeah,
So,
so few have returned. Hey, Master Gimli, where is Aragorn? He fell, and the look on her face was she looked completely lost because obviously she'd already fallen in love with him because he treated her like he didn't treat her like just some girl that can't fight. He treated her like she could be a warrior. She could be anything she wanted to be, and treated her with respect. So she wasn't used to that.
nope. And meanwhile, back where Wormtail and Saruman were, is where we begin to learn that they have actually made like this black powder that could explode
I love how
inside balls of
he
spice.
has almost has the candle near it, and Zahara just pushes it away like, don't get the candle fire. She goes to the gunpowder.
Tammy, did you have anything that you wanted to interject about any of the scenes that we've talked about so far?
No, not really. You guys kind of covered it all.
What do you think
To,
about the Shield Maiden as a character, as far as from a woman's point of view?
What do you mean?
Erwin is her name. What do you think about her character from a woman's perspective? Do you
I think she's,
think
um,
she's a strong character?
yeah, I think she's very strong, strong-willed, and especially, at the time that this is set, she knows a lot more and is a lot stronger than many of the women at that time because she
Okay.
knows how to yield a sword and everything, and she wants to go in battle. So
Yeah, but
to,
King Theoden has other plans for her because she's got to help take care of like the people.
right,
I know she definitely seems like she's being told to do something that she doesn't really want to do.
correct.
to,
But she also knows that
I
she is a very strong person, and her
I
strength is
really love her. She's a great character.
uh,
her strength is
yeah,
I really felt bad
out.
for her with Aragorn because you knew that you know he loved Arwen, and even if he thought that Arwen wasn't there anymore, he loved her so much that there's no way he'd give his heart to anybody else. So Ewan was just barking up the wrong tree. Unfortunately, there's just no way that he could return the feelings to her. You know.
You
Uh,
could tell he was attracted to her.
oh, of course, she's gorgeous, but that's beside the point. You know. I don't even think he would have slept with her. I think his honor would stop that. Even though he thought that Arwen had left at that point. Um, but that's not the point.
Yeah, I don't think he could have ever strayed from that romance between him and the elf. But
Arwen.
yeah, but in any case, moving onwards, like I said, we saw that there was some black powder in a ball that Saruman was preparing, and they were preparing for the battle. And Wormtongue was like, "How can we even like?" He first tells him of Helm's Deep, where
And
like
the
if you could
weakness.
penetrate. um, those sewer grates in like the bottom of the castle walls or whatnot.
It'll
Uh,
fall.
but they would fall, but you'd need like tens of hundreds of thousands
They said
at your
thousands,
control.
thousands of orcs, and he says tens of thousands. But my lord, there is no such army. That's when they
And
look down, and there's the armies.
that's when Wormtongue thinks that, oh, we could actually win this battle. you know, but I believe that I believe that Aragon does eventually get back to camp or
Yeah, he
back
sees,
to
but
Helm's Deep.
first he sees the armies for himself when he's traveling
Yes.
back. So when he sees that, then he tries to move a little faster so he could let them know. 'Cause the first thing he does when he gets back is where's the king? I mean, Gimli's first season he's like let me see him. I'm gonna kill him. You are such a lucky human being. And then of course we see Legolas, and Legolas like you're late. Oh Legolas, you're late. And he hands back to Nicholas, and then of course she sees him, and she's all happy, and he
well,
tells the king that there's an army heading their way, and the king he wants the king to fight, of course, and that's when they decide. No, no,
and they get ready for battle. They get
and
all ready,
get
and
the
that's
women
when
and the children that are old enough to hold a sword. This is where you start seeing little kids being handed swords and stuff. And as much as you think that's horrible, um, Orca's gonna kill them. They don't care if they're kids. They don't care if they're women.
I forgot.
At least give them a fighting chance with a weapon, because the Orcs are gonna kill them no matter what. So.
I forgot the reason why they went to Helm's Deep was because two children ride in on a horse, and they tell them of the massacre that had happened, like somewhat near them,
Oh yeah, I
because their
mean,
mother.
they said the Helm's Deep has never been breached, and will be breached, and of course we know different, but
Well, and also, an army of elves ends up showing up at Helm's Deep from, I believe, Galadriel.
yeah,
Uh,
she sends
uh,
her captain of the guard with a bunch of elves, because you see another added scene where her and Elrond are talking, and Elrond's like, should we leave the humans and dwarves to their own devices and stuff? And they're basically talking, and the next thing you know, they show up. So obviously they decide that they will help. And this, of course, we saw Arwen finally being convinced that she should go off with her own people because her father sees her shows a future where she'll be with Aragorn, and then he passes away, and she'll be left alone, and blah blah blah, and so we see her walking off with the elves to go away.
yep, and that's what we think is going to happen, at least in this movie. But we find out later that she actually does refuse to go later on in the
Well, she
third
sees the
film.
real, the rest of the vision that her father kept from her, where she has a son with Aragorn, and even though she will lose Aragorn, she'll have his son to raise and their own child. So yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah. But that's
You might not have
much
young
later.
love as well.
It's hard not to talk about these other films because there's so much like interweaved with each other. Like it's
Oh
hard
yeah,
not to
definitely.
mention some of it. But in any case, the battle begins, and you get the camaraderie between Legolas and Gimli, where they're always counting their victims that they kill, and I love that about them, especially in the
What's going on? Should I get you a box for you to stand on? And goes, Gilly just starts laughing. Anyone else who insulted him like that, he'd kill him. But,
well.
That's actually far.
And meanwhile, while all this is happening, we get the meeting, the actual meeting of Gollum, and the essential hatred between Samwise Gamgee and Gollum, because he thinks that he is beyond redemption. He's untrustworthy, and he's beyond hope. You know. Whereas Frodo actually sees a kinship in him and almost pities him because he knows how long he had the ring in his presence and what it does to one who bears the ring.
What it does to him, and it's still doing to him.
Correct. And he understands Gollum too, and I think it helped him to hear from Gandalf that he wasn't that far off a creature from him at one point in time.
Yeah,
In
he
fact,
wasn't
his name
far
was
from being a
Smeagol.
hobbit.
In fact, there is a moment that I think that we all kind of pity Gollum because because we see him mull his name over in his mind, and it's like he hasn't remembered his name before.
Smeagol.
That was my name, Smeagol.
I
So
love.
it's like
I
there
love.
was a
I loved
recognition.
how for a little while he actually got rid of like the bad side of himself, the Gollum side, and
Leave
he pushed
now and
he
never
pushed
return.
he pushed him away because he tried. He's like yes I can. He wanted to be that Smeagol again, the Hobbit like creature that
Master cares.
that and
Master wouldn't do any harm to me.
unfortunately, uh, that all got undone. And he didn't see, even though Sam tried to tell him, like, he was just he was just saving but unfortunately, the bad side of him came back and talked him into being bad again. But
Yeah,
he did try.
he did. And in a sense, it's kind of like a Jekyll and Hyde type of character.
Yeah.
Because you got the one. It's like the angel and the devil on one side. You got the angel saying, "I want to do good." You got the devil saying, "Let's do evil shit. Let's
And
do this
the
shit."
devil sticks the fork in the angel and stabs him.
But yeah. So you have this threesome thing going on where Sam.
Threesome.
Yeah.
Whoa. Wait, what?
This
Fucking
Are we
this
hell.
talking about one of the G string now?
no no
Oh,
but
bloody hell.
we have this trilogy of uh, trio of characters that
Threesome.
well there was a lot of humor said after this film about Frodo and Sam like being together all
Yeah, well,
time. There was some homo jokes going on.
I don't buy that.
Well, okay, I must admit I can somewhat see where those jokes come from, but I don't seriously
Nonsense.
think that's the case. No,
Nonsense.
no, like I said, I don't think it's seriously the case, but I did see some interaction that could have made some people think about those
Sacrilege.
things. Uh, Sorry, what?
I said
He said
sacrilege.
sacrilege as if he believes in gods.
I actually do, but that's the other point.
But in any case, yeah, so that is going on, but also at the same time, uh, the Ents are convening for the first time in like centuries or millennia or
Yeah.
however long you want to put on
And this is
that.
when they decide that they're not orcs.
Yeah, because
Oh,
it
What
takes an
about
extremely
Saruman? Did you
long
decide
time to
about him?
speak in Ent, and only if it's worth saying. So by the time they get
We are gonna
done
bring you to
finished and they've
safety.
actually only figured out that they are not orcs, you
And
kind of have to.
Treebeard starts bringing them to safety, and Mary actually comes up with an idea for once, and says, "Wait a minute, we should go the other direction. But that is towards Isengard. Because exactly, the closer the danger we are, the safer we'll be. They won't think to look for us right under the tree. 'Cause that doesn't make much sense, although you are pretty small, so it might help." So he's like, "Okay, south we go." I always like going south. It's like going downhill. And then, of course, they travel a little bit of ways, and then he sees all the burnt up trees and cut down trees and the whole
These were
area.
my
He's like, some of these
friends.
trees are my friends. And he just bellows out a loud bellow. And all of a sudden, he starts seeing all the trees way over, start moving and everything moving around. And then all of a sudden, the tree ants moving behind him. They will take care of the orcs and we will take care of Saruman. And
Back at
Saruman should have
Helm's
fucking
Deep.
known better.
Back
Than, you
back at Helm's Deep. Things are not going as planned. At first, they are because they start out pretty good, but then
Well, I mean,
is when
they're repelling the tens of thousands of orcs, okay, until they end
they
up setting up the fire, and then the big Urukai starts running down with his torch. I mean, Aragorn immediately says, kill him, and they stick a bunch of arrows into him, but unfortunately, he's a big brute, and he kept going, and he fell and right into the bomb
basically
basically,
kamikazed into the
and
bomb.
you know the whole wall came falling down, including our three heroes and some others, and this is where we get the scene where
And
I can't think of his name,
Galadriel's
but Gabriel's
commander, he falls.
captain, he ends up getting killed, and that was a sad scene because I don't know,
Yeah,
I like his character. I can't think of his
I
name,
did
but
too.
I like his character, and that was very sad seeing him fall and die, and you know, it was. We did forget one thing I did want to mention: the other fight scene, with the goblins and the wargs. It was kind of funny when the warg fell after Gimli chopped his head. It fell on top of him. And he's like trying to get it off, and then a goblin goes on top of there, and he breaks the goblin's neck. Now he's trying to get the warg and the goblin off. Then another warg pops up, and he's like, "Oh crap!" And then um, Aragorn throws a spear and kills that warg, and that falls on top of Gimli. It was kind of funny, like you were just getting buried by all these dead bodies. He's just trying to get out. He finally does. We don't see him actually how he got out, but he finally does get out. But I thought it was funny, and I like to mention it.
I guess Peter Jackson ended up playing a spear throwing Rohan soldier
Really,
in one
oh
of the
wow,
moments.
wow, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either,
interesting. Wow, is it
but
possible that you, Crow, didn't know something about Lord of the Rings?
Well, it happens.
trying to figure out who actually played the elf commander.
Think of his damn name.
Not sure. Sure. I'm trying to come across it here. But in any case, yeah, he falls, and then you get the Helm's Deep people retreating, and I guess
Helder.
we get eventually the moment where they look to the east and the sun rises, and you see Gandalf the White appear and rush down with the riders of Rohan. And it seems like several armies that they've been able to gather up
Did you hear what I
to
said?
what?
Helder.
Haldor.
That
Okay.
was his name. Haldir.
Haldor was played by Craig Parker. But yeah, the you get that whole riding down of that mountain side. You get the orcs looking scared and said, and then that's when you also see the battle at Isengard. The trees end up making sure that the water actually surrounds the tower, and you get to see Saruman like looking around like, oh fuck, I'm trapped, and Wormtail is looking kind of scared too, you know,
Worm tongue.
Mm,
Worm Tongue,
yeah.
um, and you also see the rest of the orcs that are still alive in that battle back up into the trees. Well, guess what? The trees end up taking care of the
Oh, I
rest.
love that's another added scene right there, too.
Yeah,
That's great.
Okay.
I
Um,
thought that was a
but
nice touch.
we kind of skipped ahead because before that is when Gollum, Sam, and Frodo are seeing the men, and they start to go. They're gonna go to the gate, and Gollum stops them and says, "There's another way in. You'll be caught if you go this way."
Yep, and Sam
They
loses
almost
his
get caught.
footing. He
Caught
falls.
when Sam falls into the ground and gets stuck. But the
I thought that was
magic
great.
cloak makes them look like a big boulder, so they're not caught. And then of course Faramir and his scouts end up finding them and capturing them, and he ends up that's when they find out that Faramir is dead, and he doesn't. And he's gonna give the one ring to his father, and finally be be something in his father's eyes.
But I
Um,
don't think he'll ever
this
be
is where
something in
we
his
get
father's eyes.
a back scene of just how horrible his father was to him. Not just
Yeah,
in
that
the
guy is
next
played by
movie.
Oh,
John
In the next
Noble.
movie, he was horrible, but you get to see that he's always been that way. And even Boromir wasn't even that. He wasn't a big daddy's kid at all. He was just his dad always preferred him, but he was like, can't you just leave me alone? Like he couldn't even
okay.
stand his father either, even though he was doted upon. And you know he says, Faramir, needs as much credit as I do, and he's like, oh, you let them just walk in on a whim and take the city, and blah blah, just no matter what Faramir did, he could not do no right, and no matter what Faramir did, he could do no wrong in the father's eyes, and it was horrible. But despite that, Faramir and Faramir had a great relationship with each other, and it turns out that Faramir was a lot stronger than Faramir was, because Burma fell to the ring, and he tried to take the ring. He tried to do that, and Burma actually, he let it go. He let
Yep,
Frodo go.
he let them all go,
He let them go, and not only did he let them go, but he knew that on pain of death himself, that he was forfeiting his own life, letting them go. So even despite that, he still knew it was right to do,
Uh,
and he did.
yeah.
okay, I must admit, when we got this flashback of Boromir and Faramir and their father, that was a part I did find more interesting. In the first movie, I must admit, although I know Boromir is a fairly popular character, I didn't really find him very much compelling. But now with this backstory we got, he kind of became more interesting.
Well, Boromir, I would have to say is like the representation of what men or it was supposed to be like the face of man,
Oh,
uh,
Gondor.
of Gondor, which Gondor is a hugely, at least in this realm of Middle Earth, a huge part of the man kingdom of Middle Earth. It's I believe it's Gundam and Rohan are like the two main, you know, uh, countries in the world of men,
Except it's
and
Gondor and Rohan, yeah.
so he was a representation of his people, and just like Gimli was of his race, and Legolas was of the elves, and
Well,
you
you
got
see other humans, you see other elves, but you don't see other dwarfs in this one.
you only see the bodies of the dead in the halls of Moria. You know,
You see a lot of
The
that,
ones.
yeah.
but yeah. So we get that moment but I also think that this moment is here with Boromir's brother, because he also did something to Gollum to make him mistrust, you know, Frodo a
Yeah,
little bit
they
more.
captured him and they tortured Gollum a little bit. Um, and and that was because Frodo said trust master, and they caught him. But what he doesn't know is they were going to kill him, and if he hadn't done that, Gollum would have been killed. So, um, you know that's why.
And I'm sure there wasn't much time for them to talk about that to Gollum at all. And Sam, well, he just doesn't care about Gollum.
He doesn't, but he does tell him. He does say that he does say that was another added scene too. That he talked to him for a minute and says, so there's no hard feelings between you two. It's like he did what he did to save you. And Gollum was like, oh yes, no man hard feelings, but we already know that there is, and that he's already gone back to being bad and wanting to have her kill them. We don't know who her is yet. Well, we do, but if you're just following along and not seeing the next movie, you don't know yet who her
Yeah.
is. I still shiver all over when I think about who she is.
Well, and now that the Ents have had their battle, they've won their fight, and so have
And now, and of
uh,
course, it looks very dire in Helm's Deep. The orcs are breaking through. There's nowhere left to go. They're having the women and children run for the mountains through a special passage, and the king is going to ride out with Aragorn after he, has a little speech about riding. How he goes for honor and glory. There's no for Rohan, so for the women and children to get away, and we'll ride out and we'll give them hell, And then he looks up and he sees the sun starting to rise, and he remembers what Gandalf says on the at dawn on the fifth day. Look to the east, and see me, and they go charging out and knocking orcs right and left off of the bridge and off of the stairs, and they're charging through. Running them down, and they're outside, and you know, they look like they're about to run into thousands of orcs, and he looks over, and there's Gandalf, and all of a sudden, behind Gandalf is the Rise of Rohan, and those thousands of men that he had, and they come charging down, and the orcs get the spears up to prepared, and Gandalf flashes some light that's like the sun, and the orcs can't see, and they drop their spears, and the horses jump over them and just crush the orcs, and they basically crush all the orcs in between the two armies that are left, and we they end up saving the day, and Helm's Deep is saved, and this is where we say Helm's Deep is over, but the fight for Middle Earth is yet to begin, and so this is where the Two Towers ends and sets up for Return of the King.
Yep, and it pretty much ends. It ends on somewhat of a humorous note too, a little bit too, because you got Merry and Pippin who
Oh yes,
are
they're looking for
at
food. They're
Isengard, and
starving, and they're like,
they
I
find
bet
some
there's
weed.
some wet bread around, and all of a sudden he finds an apple, and then another apple, and then they find a bunch of apples. They're all gleefully grabbing the apples up, and then they walk in, and there's all this food, and then they see it. They see the leaves from their hometown, and we all know it's pot, and they get up there and they start smoking, and like, maybe we should offer Trevor or something. Like, that's not a good idea. It's probably a relative or something.
as you see
Yeah.
the as you see the tree look in
Yeah.
and be like, what the fuck is going on here?
Quick, they see smoke and wondering what the smoke is coming from, and I
Well,
guess
it might be
Trevor
a
is okay.
cousin or a distant relative that we're smoking, man.
Yeah, so they're smoking the pot, and yeah, I assume they're eating the food for the munchies and stuff, and uh, this is why hobbits
Well,
have
and
breakfast
hobbits,
and second breakfast
hobbits,
and lemonades and noonsies and lunch and dinner and
hobbits
supper
can
because they're
eat.
always smoking.
Hobbits can eat a lot of food. Hobbits can eat a lot of food if they want to.
Oh, obviously, like I said, they got breakfast and second breakfast and elevensies and noonsies and lunch and dinner and supper and second supper.
But they all might do it in slow motion
That
because
that sounds like David's daily thing.
there's nothing wrong with eating.
He's a hobbit. Just a big one. He's an overgrown hobbit. He
I'm
drank the
supposed to be the tall one.
he drank the water from Tangor. That's another added scene too. The water drinking, and he's like, I'm telling you, I was always taller than you. I was supposed to be the tall one.
Yeah.
Yo, what, 5'3"? Well, I'm five. No, not 5.
Which
35.
adds
35.
more
Well,
to
I'm three
Mary and
six,
Pippin's
three
humor.
seven, 3'8".
Which adds more to Mary and Pippin's humor. I love their
And then they get eaten
camaraderie
up by the
between each
tree,
other.
and they get saved by Treebeard. And he's like, the forest is not safe for you anymore.
But yeah, there it is. The Two Towers in a nutshell, and we didn't go like over 3 hours like last time. So, but
Oh, we
Yeah.
didn't have as much discussion on the book as we did last time, so.
but let's talk about production. What did we think about production? I know no Tammy didn't really say all too much, but what did you think about production, dear?
I thought it was great. I mean, the scenery is all, and so far has been awesome in both movies. It, it's great scenery, the characters, and obviously we know some of the stuff is CGI, but
Mm.
it's it still looks realistic enough. So,
Most definitely.
huh?
I say most definitely, yeah, you're right.
And it's just the imagination that's used to make all the different characters is just great. I mean, it's definitely a visionary type of a film with all the different things that the characters, the scenery, and everything else that you see.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
definitely.
I agree. I mean, the production, it was like on par with all the different worlds and the different characters and the different scenery. I mean, you wouldn't have these films without New Zealand being part of the like background scenery. You get to see parts of New Zealand that are phenomenal to see in aerial views and whatnot, and um, just the um, character design of each of the characters, the orcs and their body suits. I mean, those were pretty damn gruesome looking. I mean, uh, from the orcs that come in fellowship with the ring with the Urukai to the different band of orcs that we see. I mean, we see a lot of orcs uh,
Mm,
in this particular movie for sure, and more types of creatures in the in the third film, but you get to see a lot of the extensive orcs in this particular film, especially with the Battle of Helm's Deep and somewhat of the way that orcs think and speak when they're amongst the band of orcs that had kidnapped Merry and Pippin, thinking that they were the ring bearers, because the lead guy was like, the master wants them. They have something the master wants. So
There's some kind of elvish weapon.
yep. So, but
They
I
we have the ring. Shh. As soon as they
I,
say
I
we don't, we're dead.
and I do have to give a lot of props to costume department too. I mean, they got the costumes for everybody down pat. They got the languages, I believe, down pat. I mean, uh, that's the thing with J.R. Tolkien. He didn't just create like the history of the weaponry and the history of the peoples. He created the languages for each and every one of these people
I've always wanted to
in all his
speak
notes and
elvish.
shit. How they were supposed to be spoken. You know, and that's why these movies were able to be put the screen, and I'm glad that they were. You know. What about
indeed.
you, Ron? What did you think about production?
Oh, I absolutely fucking loved it, just like the first one. I mean, just absolutely incredible. Everything they've done is just amazing. Like you said, the costumes were incredible. Uh, there's nothing bad I could say about any of it. They were just so well done, so awesome. It's just great. Uh, next to Star Wars is the best production movies of all time. I don't think anything's come as close or ever will come as close. Well, with the exception of Star Wars movies. Um, and that's a whole other universe of things. So yeah, it's pretty incredible.
Oh yeah, and the music was done by Howard Shore uh, for I believe all all six films that were able to be put together. I believe, yeah, because we've got you've also got The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey, The Desolation of Smog, and The Battle of the Five Armies. That kind of go hand in hand with the music, but um, I know my dad really likes the music when the Riders of Rohan come in. It's actually called the Riders of Rohan on the soundtrack, and just what when they show up, it's very pronounceable. Anyone else have anything on the music? Because
Oh,
to me, the music is very cool.
yeah, it definitely goes well with the movie.
I mean, I know we even get a song from Eowyn um, when her brother's funeral happens, and you can tell that J.R.R. Tolkien liked songs like music, so because I believe that particular song was actually uh, versed in the book, you know, but I'm not sure that he entirely had had it down exactly how he wanted it done. And I'm glad that it was done the way that it was. Just like Mary, he sings a song in the third one,
Bone chilling.
which is bone chilling. Yes,
Very, very bone chilling. If you're not moved from that song, then you don't have no feelings.
but yeah. So at the end of the day, I really like these soundtracks to both of these. I mean, you know when they're in the Shire, when things are happening, and also gotta give props to the sound for all the different sounds of the clashing of swords,
Oh, definitely.
clashing of helmets, also choreography for the sword fighting, and
Oh,
the
indeed.
All
there
the
are
songs,
various weaponry that was made for this film that you can
swords
actually
and
get
weapons and
made
bows
for
and arrows,
yourself too after this. I mean,
crossbows.
it made a marketing thing for some of the weaponry that was done here. You can actually get them made for yourself after these films were made. You know, I
Yep.
mean, you have to pay Ugo bucks just to get them made, but yeah, you can actually own these things for yourself. You know.
Hell yeah.
That's
Oh,
interesting,
I
I
want the
must
sword.
admit.
I want an Aragorn sword.
the Chardonnay sword, or the sword that he actually carries through these movies, because the
Yep.
Chardonnay sword is a totally different sword, which we'll come across in the third movie. But
Shardner.
yeah, that's what they call
No.
the sword.
Called the
When
shards of.
Boromir comes to Rivendell and he's talking
It
to
says the
Aragorn, he calls
shards
it the
of.
Chardonnay.
No.
I'll just take Aragon, okay?
That's fine. I know that you think that he was hot in here, right? Right, Tammy? You thought he was good looking?
Yeah.
Well, she has eyes.
but
And he said it was called the shards of Andriel. The Andriel is the name of the sword. It was called shards because it was broken into shards at the time when he was looking at it.
yeah, I know, but he called it
But
the
he
shards
called
and
the
R.
shards of Andriel.
Well, he spoke it differently, I
It's the
guess, in
way
my.
it was his accent. But if you listen, that's what he said. He said Andriel.
Okay. Well, regardless, Let us go into our favorite
And yes,
scene or
Andrew is the
scenes.
sword I want.
Let's go into our favorite scenes and our favorite character. Starting with you, Tammy.
Well, Aragon's my favorite character, of course.
Again.
But one of my favorite scenes is I like when Aragon is laying on the beach and the or whatever and the horse comes up and saves him. That's the horse that he let go, and the horse
Okay.
comes up and gets him. I thought that I just thought that was a really like moving scene because it's like it it only took a moment to realize where that horse came from. That horse was the one that he let go. And here the horse comes to save him. You know,
Yeah.
and and of course I like the little hobbits sitting there smoking their brains out and getting high as a kite too.
Yeah,
Smoking a
I
good
will
old
help my
Toby.
friends. I will help my friends.
Well, why don't you tell us, Boris, what was your favorite character or characters and our favorite scene?
My favorite scene. Well, for example, I liked the scene when Merry and Pippin and the ants got to Saruman. I loved that. What the fuck look on his face. And I also liked a lot of scenes with Gollum because I kind of found him funny. Uh, And wait, oh yeah, the scene when we found out that Gandalf is alive, that was really good. Um, and my favorite characters, well, yeah, as Tammy says, probably Aragorn, although I did also like this new female character we got to know, Eowyn, right?
Ewan. Ewan.
Uh, Eowyn, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't know how to pronounce it correctly.
It's okay, Dave doesn't either.
Well, I was only speaking it the way that they were saying it in the movie.
Uh huh. He
Mm.
doesn't know how to listen either.
Uh, I would say go rewatch the movie and see how they say it because
You need to
they
rewatch
say it
it.
like Eowyn. I heard Eowyn, and every time she was spoken towards, it was Eowyn. If I have to, I'll go and find and make a clip thing of when they actually speak her name and show it to you. But anyways,
Yep.
Um, was there
what?
anything else I wanted to say? I'm not sure.
Well, while you're thinking about it, we can go over to Ron and get his favorite characters or favorite scene.
Well, first I'd like to say favorite characters from Fellowship Ring because I kind of missed that last week. Gandalf and Legolas. And this one is Gandalf, Legolas, and Gimli. Lots of funny scenes with Legolas and Gimli. Yes, in the first one too, but more so in this one, I think. Not that I don't love every other character, I do absolutely love everybody. Definitely love Aragorn there on all. Just but as far as favorite characters, is Gandalf, Gimli, and Legolas. I love elves and I love wizards, so they got to be in there. And Gimli is just so funny, with and without
uh,
Legolas.
I
As
Oh
far
think,
as
yeah,
yeah,
favorite scenes go,
Gimli can.
um, it's hard to say. There's so many great scenes in both movies. I have to say when Balrog grabs Gandalf and the way his look, he's like, flee, you fools. Um, and then he just like falls down the pit. It was so heartbreaking and heart wrenching that you think Gandalf is dead, and it was such a great and powerful scene. I have to say it's one of my favorite scenes, even though it was a horrible scene, but it was a awesome scene as well. Um, Now in Two Towers, the Helm's Deep. Not only was it such an epic battle, but the comedy between Legolas and Gimli again. Um, uh, the comedy between Gimli and Aragorn. He's like, "Toss me." And he's like, "What?" He's like, "Toss me. Don't tell
Uh,
the
y-
elf. Don't tell the
y-
elf. My lips are sealed." And he tosses him over, and then he jumps over, and he's like bowled through the orcs, and it was just really really fun the way they showed that scene, and the way they still brought those characters together. Even though there was this humongous battle and there was tens of thousands of orcs and all these other people around, you still really got the camaraderie between these three individuals, and I really loved that. And I just love those scenes. And all the scenes everyone else mentioned were definitely as great as well. I mean, there's not really any scenes in the movies that I didn't like that weren't spectacular. That's why these movies are so epic and so spectacular. Why I've seen so many times, and why I know these are not the last time I'll see these movies. I will definitely be seeing them again down the road. Yeah, those are my favorite scenes and my favorite characters.
I would have to say my favorite characters are between. Honestly, I like a lot of the characters, but
One more.
Gandalf is definitely one. I would have to say the Ranger is another, but I do enjoy
He's
the
not the Ranger
camaraderie
anymore. He was only the
between
Ranger in the first one.
um, uh, the camaraderie between Gimli and Legolas is classic. I mean, there's a comment that I just remembered that Gimli made while he was walking through the forest of Fangor, where he said, "What do trees have to talk about except the consistency of squirrel droppings?"
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
uh,
That moment
or
made me
or
laugh
later
too.
during the Battle of Helm's Deep, he's sitting on top of an orc, and Legolas like shoots the orc under him. He's like, "What?" And
Oh, how many?
he's
Wait,
like,
how
"It
many
was
did you?
twitching."
He's like, how many did you kill? And he says 37. 37, not bad. I myself killed 38. And then Legolas shoots the orc he's sitting on. He's like, he twitched. He twitched because my axe is in his head. And they stop arguing
I
about it.
was thinking
Axes
of
in his nervous system.
Yeah,
That's
I
what
I
he
was
said.
thinking of
absolutely
that one
love
too.
the arguments between them on how many kills they get. The next one, there is a scene in the next one that they're doing that's even better. I won't get into it now because I haven't watched it. But when we do that next week, I'll definitely mentioning that scene. Was so hilarious. And I'm sure Dave, you know what I'm talking about.
Hmm.
So that would be great to talk about.
Yeah, the camaraderie between them two,
Uh,
and I do have to say the part where Merry and Pippin are smoking their brains out
oh yeah,
by the end.
that
That's
was
just fucking
definitely
classic.
that was a definitely great scene.
uh,
A barrel
oh,
each. Should we share with Graybeard?
oh
You can
yeah.
tell
Uh,
pot smoking was a huge thing in Middle Earth.
uh,
Especially of
now,
hobbits.
uh, now you reminded me. There was one moment with Mary and Pippin that I didn't understand. When one of them, not sure which one, apparently grew a little bit taller and started
Oh,
to
that was because of the
produce.
water that that
Yeah,
Mary had drank.
the
Didn't you see him
the water
drinking
was magical.
from the Fangorian water that they were told not to?
Oh, I, uh, Yeah, I guess, but
Yeah,
I
it
didn't
gave
know
him
that had
magical
to do.
powers while drinking it to have him grow taller.
It
Yeah, and
sounded like
to
an ant too. He's like, "You just said something an ant. I did not." And then
y-
Rudy go, "Yeah,
You started speaking like the trees,
yeah."
remember?
yeah,
I thought I was gonna turn him into a tree. That would have been funny. They
yeah.
start growing. They should have him start growing leaves and stuff or whatever.
Yeah, I thought something like that would happen too.
That would have been funny, even funnier. But yeah, that was an added scene as well, um, to the theatrical release. So yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad they added that. I liked all, like I said, I liked everything that they added. Um, that backstory with Warmer and Shermer, definitely. I
Uh,
love that, and that
oh
fit
yeah,
in. Um,
yeah. That was a good part too.
Yeah, like I said, that was added as well. That was not in the theater version. So, all everything that was added was
Oh,
good. Um, Now we're getting into Return of the King, where they add even more. I'd say they added what, a good 45 minutes to this one, something
Yeah.
like that. So this
jeez.
one is close to just under 4 hours now. This is definitely the longest one. They added the most to this. I really, there's one scene in particular I love the most. They added in all the scenes, but definitely one, and we'll get into that next week. So tune in next week, same bat time, same bat channel.
Oh yeah. Since most of you know who we are by now, I think we can dispense with the outros at least for today. But we'll definitely be back next week to talk about the Return of the King, because it does need to be talked about in extent, and I think it's a very cool end to the trilogy as well. So
Well, yeah,
um,
yeah, it
that
just gives
that
you a great ending. I think
that being said,
ties up all the stories.
hopefully you can like, share, and subscribe. Let us know down in the comments what you thought of our discussion, and we'll see who else comes back and gives us a holler. So um, everyone say good night.
Good
Good
Night,
night.
night.
Joker.